Hello, this is the TradeState U.S. stocks and futures market preview for the week beginning Monday, November 4th, ending Friday, November 8th, 2019. Here's the ES for month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market and futures forum, new closing highs on Friday. But let's talk a little bit about some of the other things we know about this. Actually, let's go through the daily charts first, then we'll do that. So crude oil was down 26 cents to 55.94. Doesn't really matter. Gold was up $3.50. Also doesn't really matter. It can't be a 13 sell signal until it gets above the 8th candle. The S&P cash gained 29.35. There's your new closing high. The NASDAQ 100 up 77.34. SOX 38.71. The biotech's up 78.98. Russell 2000 up 26.88. This has been a long base, by the way. This is as flat. Look, this is as flat as the Russell can be for 9-10 months now. That's interesting. The VIX down at 92 cents. This thing closing at 12.30. That's the lowest close on the VIX almost of the year at this point. The trend closes at 0.69. That puts the 10-day at 0.98. NASDAQ volume was 2 billion shares. That's better than we've been seeing. Advanced decline ratio on NASDAQ was plus 1643, so a very positive breath day. Plus 1340 on the New York. Google gains, 1345. That is not closing highs, but it's not far off. Apple up 7. That was 7. That's a big move for Apple. And new closing highs. Netflix down 60 cents. Amazon up 14.78. Tesla down 1.61. And Facebook up $1.97. Goldman Sachs gave 12.01. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, was down 43 cents. The Dow was up 310. Also looking for new highs here. But here's the main thing that we really want to look at. Let's go back to the S&P. Let's go to the monthly chart. This is a big time frame. And when we closed October out on Thursday for Halloween, we got a 13 sell signal. Now, remember how this goes. This is important because for over 10 years, we never got a sell signal on the S&P on the monthly chart. Then we did in early 2016, and then we shook it off in late 2016. Now, that's fine. That can happen. It's about an 80% signal, so it can be wrong 20% of the time. But what we know is that typically if you get a 13 sell signal, you blow it off, and you get another one in short order behind it. And this would be in short order by definition because we didn't have one for 10 years before that. Then that one is about a 95% chance of working. So be very careful here. This looks like a top in the market. And by the way, the red line would be the target back down to 2,000 on the S&P, which is lower than it was at the back end of 2016. Now, the NASDAQ 100 doesn't quite have a 13 yet. It could still get one in another month or two. Let's see. Yeah, if November closed right now, you'd have it, and if December was higher, you'd have it. So we're not far away on the NASDAQ either. Remember, these are big time frames, and that's the important part, right? You don't get these a lot on these huge time frames. So it's really interesting to see, and I think we got to pay attention to that. All right, so that's where we're at from a technical perspective. Intra-week, let's take a look at the ES from a futures contract, and we're going to switch it to 10-minute candles so we can see the whole week because it really wasn't that interesting. You gapped up Monday, and you were just dead flat all day. Tuesday, there was a little wiggle early, but you closed just below where you opened. Wednesday, basically a flat opening and a surge after the Fed. Thursday, we sold off to fill the gap from Monday and closed slightly negative for the day. And then Friday, so all that's a waste of time if you really look at it. It hadn't done anything. And then Friday, it gap up and closed the highs of the week. So it's really, really interesting to see how all that plays out. On the NASDAQ side, if you want to just look at the NASDAQ, look at the same thing, but pretty much. But again, we filled the gap. Look at that. Look at the spike down on Wednesday just to fill the gap. That's just talk about technical trading. There's no way you can get around that. In terms of economic data coming out this week, we just had the Fed meeting and everything, so it's not about that. We just had the daylight savings time shift, so everybody's going to be market hours change for Monday. Factory orders at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Loan officer survey after that. Trade balance at 8:30 on Tuesday, along with the final services PMI at 9:45. ISM non-manufacturing PMI at 10. JOLTS job openings at 10. IBD tip economic optimism number Tuesday. Wednesday, we've got the preliminary non-farm productivity and crude oil inventories, 10-year bond auction in the afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The initial and continuing jobless claims Thursday at 8:30. Natty gas at 10:30. 30-year bond auction at 1. Consumer credit at 3. And then on Friday, you've got the preliminary consumer sentiment number and the final wholesale inventories. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great